r/AITA dad stole my entire college fund, so I cut him off forever. AITA dad stole my entire college fund, so I cut him off forever. I'm staring at a bank statement showing a balance of $47.83 in what used to be my $80,000 college fund, and my hands won't stop shaking. The worst part? I found out completely by accident. I was trying to transfer money for next semester's tuition when the website glitched and showed me the full transaction history. 3 years of systematic withdrawals. Thousands at a time. All authorized by the co-signer on the account, my dad. My grandmother worked double shifts at a textile factory for 15 years to save that money for my education. She died when I was 16, but not before making my dad promise he'd make sure every penny went toward my degree. I added to it myself, working part-time jobs since I was 14, saving birthday money, selling textbooks, skipping meals to add $20 here and there. Now it's gone. I screenshot everything with trembling fingers before calling the bank. The customer service rep confirms what I already know but desperately hoped was a mistake. The account has been systematically drained over the past 3 years. All withdrawals were legal since my father was a co-signer. But there should be restrictions, I stammer into the phone. This was specifically for education. I'm sorry, but without a formal trust structure, the co-signer has full access to the funds. I hang up and immediately call my dad. It goes straight to voicemail. Of course it does. The rage hits me like a physical force. 3 years. He's been stealing from me for 3 years while I've been killing myself to graduate with honors, working 20-hour weeks at a campus coffee shop, living off ramen and pride. Meanwhile, he's been funding God knows what with my grandmother's sacrifice. Actually, I do know what. It's impossible to miss his new wife Sandra's constant social media posts about their weekend trips to casinos, her designer handbags, their spontaneous vacation to Vegas last month. I thought his bank job was just paying better than expected. Turns out he was supplementing his income with my future. My phone buzzes. A text from him, "Can't talk right now, son. In meetings all day." I text back, "We need to talk about my college fund. Now." The response comes 20 minutes later, "Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. Everything's fine. I'm 1 semester away from graduating with a degree in accounting. 1 semester. I've already been accepted to 3 graduate programs. I have a job lined up with a respected firm that requires my degree to be completed by May. And now I'm looking at dropping out because I can't afford spring tuition." I call him 6 more times. Every call goes to voicemail. By the 7th attempt, I'm no longer angry, I'm ice cold with calculation. 2 can play the research game. If my dad thinks he can steal from me and ignore my calls, he's about to learn exactly what kind of son he raised. The same son who spent 4 years studying financial systems and regulations. The same son who knows that unauthorized use of funds, even in a legal gray area, might violate the ethical standards required for his banking license. The same son who's about to find out exactly where his grandmother's money went and make sure everyone else finds out too. I open my laptop and start digging. If my dad wants to play games with my future, I'm about to show him what happens when you steal from someone who has nothing left to lose. This is going to be a very educational experience for both of us. I spend the next 4 hours turning into a forensic accountant, and what I find makes my stomach turn. The casino trips weren't just weekend entertainment, they were systematic bleeding. Cross-referencing Sandra's Instagram posts with the withdrawal dates from my account, I can trace almost every stolen dollar. The $5,000 withdrawal on March 15th. That was their lucky weekend in Atlantic City where Sandra posed with champagne and called my dad her generous king. The $8,000 taken in July. Their anniversary trip to Vegas, complete with photos of Sandra dripping in jewelry I apparently bought her. But it gets worse. So much worse. I hack into my dad's email using his old password. He's always been terrible with digital security. What I find buried in his deleted items makes me realize this isn't just about casino trips and designer bags. There are emails from something called Maritime Credit Solutions, with subject lines like final notice and account settlement required. My dad has gambling debts. Serious ones. The kind that come with threatening language about alternative collection methods and deadlines that coincidentally align with the largest withdrawals from my fund. One email from September makes my blood freeze. "Mr. Patterson, your account is now 90 days past due. The outstanding balance of $23,847 must be resolved within 72 hours to avoid escalation to our specialized recovery department." The next day, $25,000 disappeared from my college fund. My father wasn't just stealing my money for his wife's lifestyle, he was using it to pay off loan sharks. My grandmother's life savings, my 4 years of part-time wages, all of it went to keeping my dad's kneecaps intact. I'm so deep in my rage-fueled investigation that I almost miss my roommate Jake coming home. "Dude, you look like you've seen a ghost," he says, dropping his backpack. "What's wrong?" I tell him everything. Jake listens without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each detail. When I finish, he's quiet for a long moment. "So what are you going to do?" "I don't know yet. But I'm going to make sure he can't do this to anyone else." Jake pulls up a chair. "Okay, but think about this carefully. If your dad works at a bank and he's been using your college fund to pay gambling debts, that's not just theft, that's a massive ethics violation. Banks don't mess around with employees who have gambling problems. They consider it a security risk." He's right. My dad works as a senior loan officer at First National. He has access to client financial information, approval authority on loans up to $100,000, and a position that requires the highest level of ethical standards. A gambling addiction and the financial desperation that comes with it. That's exactly the kind of liability that gets people immediately terminated and potentially investigated for other irregularities. "There's something else," Jake continues. "Didn't you tell me Sandra comes from money? Like, serious family money?" I nod slowly. Sandra's father owns 3 car dealerships across the state. Old money, conservative family, the kind of people who care deeply about reputation and respectability. They barely tolerated my dad as it was. A divorced bank employee with a college-aged son wasn't exactly their ideal match for their princess daughter. If they found out their son-in-law is a gambling addict who steals from his own kid, the implications hit me like a truck. I wouldn't just be exposing my dad's theft, I'd be destroying his career, his marriage, and his future all at once. My phone buzzes. Another text from him, stop calling. We'll talk this weekend. This weekend. Like my education, my future, my grandmother's sacrifice can wait for his convenience. I look at Jake. I think I'm about to declare war on my own father. Actually, there's something else you need to see, Jake says, pulling out his laptop. I've been thinking about what you said regarding the timeline, and I did some digging of my own. He pulls up the local newspaper's online archive. Look at this. The headline makes my stomach drop. First National Bank under federal review following irregularities in commercial lending department. The article is dated 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks, and my dad never mentioned that his workplace was under investigation. Keep reading, Jake says grimly. I scan through the article. The FDIC is conducting a routine audit that turned into something much bigger when they discovered potential improprieties in loan approvals. Several large commercial loans were approved by loan officers who allegedly had personal relationships with the borrowers. The investigation is ongoing, but 3 employees have already been placed on administrative leave. Jesus, I whisper. If they're already investigating the loan department and they find out my dad has gambling debts, they'll assume he's been taking bribes or approving fraudulent loans, Jake finishes. This isn't just about your college fund anymore. You could be the final nail in a coffin that's already being built. My phone rings. It's my Aunt Carol, my dad's sister and the only family member I still trust. Hey, honey, she says, but her voice sounds strained. I was wondering if you've talked to your father lately. Why do you ask? There's a pause. He called me yesterday asking if I could loan him some money. Quite a bit of money, actually. He seemed desperate. Said it was for some investment opportunity that couldn't wait, but something felt off about the whole thing. My heart starts racing. How much money? $30,000. I told him I didn't have that kind of cash liquid, but he kept pushing. He even offered to pay me back double within 6 months, which honestly made me more suspicious, not less. I close my eyes. He's not just stealing from me, he's trying to drag the whole family into his mess. Carol, I need to tell you something, but you have to promise me you'll hear me out completely before you react. I tell her everything. About the college fund, about the gambling, about the debts. When I finish, the silence on the other end stretches so long I think the call dropped. Carol? You still there? I'm here. Her voice is hollow. Oh, honey. I'm so sorry. I had no idea it was this bad. There's more. I think he's trying to borrow money from family members to pay off his debts, which means he's going to drag all of you down with him if this gets worse. What are you going to do? That's the question, isn't it? Because now I'm realizing that my dad isn't just a thief, he's a desperate man making increasingly dangerous decisions. If he's already being investigated at work and he's borrowing money from family to pay off what might be loan sharks, how far is he willing to go? I don't know yet. But I can't let him destroy everyone else too. After I hang up, Jake and I sit in silence. The scope of this mess keeps expanding. It's not just about my college fund anymore. It's about my dad's job, his marriage, his gambling debts, and now potentially my entire extended family's financial security. You know, Jake says quietly, once you pull this trigger, there's no going back. Your dad won't just lose his job and his wife, he might end up in prison. And he'll know you're the one who put him there. I stare at my laptop screen, at all the evidence I've gathered, at the proof of my father's betrayal. Maybe that's exactly what he deserves. Chunk 4. I'm about to close my laptop when another email notification pops up on my dad's account. The sender name makes my blood run cold, Hammond and Associates Legal Recovery. The subject line reads, Final Demand, account number 4471, legal action authorized. I click it open with shaking fingers. Mr. Patterson. Asterisk, this is your final notice regarding the outstanding debt of $47,250 on account number 4471. As per our previous communications, payment was due no later than October 15th. It is now October 28th, asterisk. Asterisk, we have been authorized by our client to pursue all available legal remedies, including wage garnishment, asset seizure, and civil litigation. Additionally, we are required to inform you that your debt will be reported to credit agencies within 72 hours, asterisk. Asterisk, however, we are prepared to offer a final settlement opportunity. If you can provide $35,000 by November 1st, this Friday, we will consider the debt resolved and refrain from further collection activities, asterisk. Be advised that failure to respond will result in immediate legal action. Sincerely. David Hammond, attorney at law. My hands are shaking so hard I can barely scroll down to read the rest. There's an attachment, a detailed breakdown of the original debt plus interest and collection fees. The original amount was $18,000. Borrowed 14 months ago. 14 months ago, I was a junior, working my ass off to maintain my GPA while pulling 20-hour weeks at the coffee shop. Meanwhile, my dad was apparently taking cash advances against future gambling winnings and lying to loan sharks about his ability to pay them back. I screenshot everything and immediately check my account again. The most recent withdrawal was last Friday, $12,000. That leaves $35,000 still sitting there, and now I know exactly why he hasn't taken it yet. He's been waiting, hoping he could win enough to pay Hammond back without completely draining my fund. But Friday is in 4 days. If he doesn't have the money by then, they're going to sue him. And if they sue him, his bank will definitely find out about his gambling debts during the ongoing federal investigation. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Is this Tyler Patterson? Who is this? Sandra Patterson. Your stepmother. We need to talk. My stepmother. I've met Sandra maybe 6 times since she married my dad 2 years ago. She's always been polite but distant, like I'm an awkward reminder of his previous life. Why would she be texting me now? About what? About your father. Can you meet me somewhere private? Tonight? Every instinct tells me this is a terrible idea. But I need to know what she knows. Coffee shop on 5th Street. 8 p.m. I'll be there. Jake raises his eyebrows when I tell him. Dude, this feels like a trap. What if your dad sent her to convince you to keep quiet? Or what if she doesn't know about the gambling and she's figured out something's wrong? I counter. She might have information I need. I spend the next 3 hours going through more of my dad's emails, and what I find makes me realize Sandra might be my best source of information. There are dozens of messages between my dad and someone named Rick_Blackjack99 discussing betting strategies, hot tips, and something called the system that's guaranteed to turn their luck around. But it's the timestamp on these emails that makes my stomach drop. The most recent one is from yesterday. Yesterday, after I confronted him about the missing money, after I demanded answers, my dad was online discussing his next gambling strategy. He's not planning to stop. He's planning to bet his way out of debt using what's left of my college fund. At 7:45 p.m., I walk into the coffee shop where I've spent countless hours earning money that's now gone. Sandra is already there, sitting in a corner booth, looking nothing like the perfectly put-together woman from her Instagram posts. Her makeup is smudged, her hair is pulled back messily, and she keeps checking her phone like she's afraid someone might catch her here. When she sees me, she waves nervously. As I walk over, I notice her hands are shaking almost as badly as mine were earlier. Tyler, she says as I sit down. Thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you would. What's this about, Sandra? She takes a shaky breath. I know about the college fund. I know what your father did. And I think I know why. Sandra's confession hits me like a physical blow. She reaches into her purse and pulls out a thick manila folder, sliding it across the table between us. I've been tracking his behavior for months, she says, her voice barely above a whisper. The late nights, the secret phone calls, the mood swings. At first I thought he was having an affair. I stare at the folder, afraid to open it. What's in there? Bank statements. Credit card bills. Photos of documents I found hidden in his office. Her hands are trembling as she speaks. Tyler, it's so much worse than just your college fund. I open the folder and immediately wish I hadn't. The first document is a credit application for a $50,000 personal loan, dated 3 months ago. Denied. The second is another application to a different bank. Also denied. The third is an application to some place called Quick Cash Solutions, with an interest rate of 24.9%. That one was approved. He's been lying to me about everything, Sandra continues. Those casino trips I posted about. I thought we were just having fun with his work bonuses. I had no idea he was using your money, or that he was borrowing against our house. Your house. My voice comes out as a croak. She nods, tears starting to form in her eyes. He took out a second mortgage 6 months ago. Told me it was for renovations. Tyler, we owe more on that house than it's worth now. I flipped through more documents. Bank rejection letters. Credit card statements showing cash advances of $5,000, $8,000, $12,000. A loan application where my dad listed his annual income as $150,000 when I know his bank salary is barely $75,000. Why are you showing me this? I ask. Why are you helping me? Sandra wipes her eyes with a napkin. Because yesterday morning, your father asked me to cash out my retirement account. All of it. $180,000. He said it was for a sure thing investment opportunity, but he needed the cash immediately. The coffee shop suddenly feels too small, too warm. What did you tell him? I told him I needed to think about it. But Tyler, I called my financial advisor this afternoon, and she told me something that terrified me. Sandra leans forward, her voice dropping even lower. She said if my husband has gambling debts and I liquidate my retirement to help him, I could be held liable for enabling his addiction. If he defaults on loans and they come after our assets, my retirement money becomes fair game for creditors. I close the folder, my mind racing. Sandra isn't just trying to help me, she's trying to save herself. She's realized that my dad's addiction is about to destroy both of our futures. There's something else, she says. This morning, 2 men came to our house looking for your father. They said they were from a collection agency, but Tyler, they didn't look like any debt collectors I've ever seen. They looked dangerous. And they knew details about our house, our cars, even where I work. My blood turns to ice. What kind of details? They knew what time I leave for work. They knew that your father's car is financed, not owned. They knew we had a dog before Rex died last month. Sandra's voice is shaking now. Tyler, I think your father owes money to people who don't take no for an answer. I think about the threatening emails I found, about the escalating payment demands, about the fact that my dad has been systematically draining every source of money he can access. If he's dealing with loan sharks and they're already making house calls. Sandra, you need to protect yourself. Don't give him access to your retirement account. Don't co-sign anything. Don't. I'm leaving him, she interrupts. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow morning. But Tyler, I need you to know that if you're planning to expose what he's done, you need to do it fast. Because I think he's running out of time. Chunk 6. Sandra's words echo in my head as I walk back to my dorm. You need to do it fast, but as I'm climbing the stairs to my room, my phone rings. It's my dad. For the first time in 2 days, I answer. Tyler, thank God. His voice sounds strained, desperate. We need to talk. Can you come home this weekend? About my college fund. There's a pause. About a lot of things. Son, I know you're upset, but there are circumstances you don't understand. I can fix this. Fix this. Dad, there's $47 left. How exactly do you fix stealing $80,000? I didn't steal anything. The desperation in his voice makes him sound almost manic. That money was temporarily borrowed. I have a plan to pay it all back with interest. But I need you to trust me for just a little longer. I think about Sandra's folder, about the loan shark emails, about the men who showed up at their house. What kind of plan? I can't explain over the phone. Just, give me until Monday. Don't do anything drastic until we talk face to face. Please, Tyler. I'm still your father. The manipulation in that last sentence makes my jaw clench, but something else occurs to me. If Sandra is filing for divorce tomorrow and my dad doesn't know yet, that changes everything. Once those papers are served, he'll realize his wife has discovered the truth. He'll know his world is about to implode. And desperate people make dangerous decisions. Fine, I tell him. But I want every penny back by Monday, or I'm going to the authorities. You won't need to. I promise you, son. Everything's going to work out. After I hang up, Jake takes one look at my face and shakes his head. Please tell me you're not actually going to wait until Monday. I'm not waiting for him to fix anything. But I need to be smart about this. I pull up my laptop and open a new document. If I'm going to destroy my father's life, I'm going to do it right. I spend the next hour creating what I mentally call my nuclear option folder. Screenshots of every email, every bank statement, every piece of evidence I've gathered. I organize it all chronologically, highlighting the connections between my fund withdrawals and his gambling activities. Then I draft 3 separate emails. The first is to the compliance department at First National Bank, detailing my father's gambling addiction and financial irregularities. The second is to the local district attorney's office, formally reporting the theft of my college fund. The third is to Sandra's father, including photos of the loan shark emails and a detailed timeline of how his daughter's husband has been financing his gambling with stolen money. Jake reads over my shoulder as I write. Jesus, Tyler. You're not just burning bridges, you're nuking them from orbit. He made his choice when he stole from my grandmother's memory. But even as I say it, my hands are shaking as I type. I save all 3 emails to my drafts folder but don't send them. Not yet. Because something Sandra said is bothering me. If my dad is dealing with dangerous people, and if he's as desperate as he seems, what happens when his world starts collapsing? My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Tyler, this is Carol. Your father just called me again. He's asking everyone in the family for money now. Even tried to call your cousin Sarah. Honey, I think he's having some kind of breakdown. He was crying on the phone and kept saying he just needed to make it to Monday. What's happening on Monday? I stare at the text, a cold realization washing over me. My dad isn't planning to confess or make amends on Monday. He's planning something else entirely. And if he's contacting the entire family, if he's that desperate for cash. I call Carol back immediately. Who else has he contacted? Everyone I can think of. He even called your great-aunt Margaret in Florida. Tyler, what is he planning? I don't know, but I think I need to stop waiting to find out. That night, I can't sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I see my dad's increasingly erratic behavior, Sandra's terrified face, and those threatening emails from people who know where everyone lives. By 3 a.m., I give up on sleep entirely and decide to do more digging. I'm scrolling through my dad's browser history when I find something that makes my stomach drop. Searches for how to transfer money internationally, banks with no extradition treaties, and fastest way to liquidate 401k without penalties. My father isn't planning to pay anyone back on Monday. He's planning to run. I immediately call Sandra, not caring that it's the middle of the night. Tyler. She sounds groggy but alert. What's wrong? Check your joint bank accounts. Right now. I hear rustling, then typing. Then silence that stretches too long. Sandra. He cleaned out our checking account, she whispers. Everything. The savings too. There's nothing left. How much? $12,000. It was supposed to cover our mortgage payment next week. Her voice breaks. Tyler, he took the grocery money. He took my gas money. I can't even afford to leave him now. The cruelty of it hits me like a punch to the gut. My dad didn't just steal from me, he systematically trapped everyone around him. Sandra can't afford to divorce him without money for a lawyer. My extended family members are being manipulated into loans they can't afford. Even if I wanted to help, my own accounts are nearly empty thanks to his theft. Sandra, go to your parents. Tonight. Don't wait until morning. I can't. If I show up at their house at 3 a.m. talking about gambling debts and loan sharks, they'll lose their minds. My father has a heart condition. Then go to a hotel. Use a credit card. But don't stay in that house. Tyler, what aren't you telling me? I take a deep breath. I think he's planning to disappear. And if those loan sharks show up looking for him and he's not there. I don't finish the sentence, but I don't need to. Sandra understands. Oh God, she breathes. You think they'll come after me for his debts? I think desperate people do desperate things. And I think my father has run out of options. After Sandra hangs up, promising to pack a bag and leave within the hour, I stare at my laptop screen. Those 3 draft emails are sitting there, waiting to be sent. But now I'm wondering if exposing my dad's crimes will just accelerate his timeline. My phone buzzes with a text from my dad, change of plans. Can you meet me tomorrow morning instead of Monday? It's important. I text back, why the rush? Some opportunities are time sensitive. Trust me, son. Everything depends on this conversation. Jake wakes up to find me pacing the room at 4 a.m., laptop open, phone in hand. Dude, what the hell? He's accelerating his timeline, I interrupt, showing him the texts. Something spooked him. Maybe Sandra's behavior, maybe the loan sharks, maybe something at work. But he's not waiting until Monday anymore. Jake rubs his eyes. So what do you do? That's the million-dollar question. If I send those emails now, I might prevent my dad from running, but I'll also trigger immediate investigations that could put him in physical danger from his creditors. If I wait and meet with him tomorrow, I might be walking into some kind of manipulation or worse. But there's a third option forming in my mind. One that's risky as hell but might be the only way to protect everyone involved while still getting justice. I'm going to beat him to the punch, I tell Jake. But I'm not going to destroy him, I'm going to force his hand. I pull up a new document and start typing. Not an accusation letter or a formal complaint, but something much more dangerous to a man living on borrowed time, a detailed timeline of his gambling activities, his debts, and his crimes, along with a simple message. Dad. Asterisk, I know everything. About the gambling, the loan sharks, the stolen money, and your plan to run. We can do this the easy way or the hard way, but either way, it ends tomorrow, asterisk. Your choice. Tyler. I attach every piece of evidence I've gathered and hover my finger over the send button. Tyler, Jake says quietly. Once you send that, you're basically threatening him. What if he panics? What if he does something really stupid? I think about my grandmother working double shifts. About Sandra crying over an empty bank account. About my cousin Sarah getting manipulated for money she probably doesn't have. Then maybe it's time to find out what kind of man my father really is. I hit send. Chunk 8. My dad's response comes faster than I expected. 20 minutes after I send the email, my phone explodes with calls. I let the first 3 go to voicemail, but the 4th call isn't from my dad. It's from Sandra, and she's crying. Tyler, he's here, she whispers into the phone. He came home and he's throwing things around, screaming about betrayal. I think he saw your email. Where are you? Locked in the bathroom upstairs. Tyler, he's not acting right. He keeps yelling about how everyone's against him, how his own son is trying to ruin his life. Her voice drops even lower. He said something about making sure you can't destroy the family. What does that mean? My blood runs cold. Sandra, call 911. Right now. I can't. If I call the police and this becomes public, my father will find out everything. The scandal will kill him. Better than you getting actually killed, I snap, but before she can respond, I hear muffled shouting through the phone, then a loud bang. He's trying the door handle, Sandra breathes. Tyler, I'm scared. The line goes dead. I'm already grabbing my keys when Jake stops me. Whoa, where are you going? My dad's house. Sandra's in danger. Dude, think about this. If your dad's having a breakdown and you show up, you're just going to make it worse. Call the police yourself. But I can't. Because as much as I hate what my father's done, I know him. The man who taught me to ride a bike, who stayed up all night helping me with my science fair project, who cried at my high school graduation, that man is still in there somewhere beneath all the desperation and addiction. And if I'm the one who sends police to arrest him, that last connection between us dies forever. My phone rings again. This time it's my dad. You little bastard, he hisses when I answer. You think you're so smart, don't you? Think you can threaten me? Dad, let Sandra go. Whatever's happening between us, she doesn't deserve. Deserve? His laugh is bitter and manic. You want to talk about what people deserve? I deserved better than a son who'd stab his father in the back. I deserved better than a wife who was planning to divorce me. I deserved a chance to fix things. You had 3 years to fix things. Instead you stole from me. I borrowed from you. Everything I did was to try to win enough to pay it all back with interest. His voice breaks. Do you think I wanted this? Do you think I planned to become this person? For a moment, just a moment, I hear genuine anguish in his voice. But then I remember Sandra's terrified whisper, and my sympathy hardens. Where is Sandra? Safe. For now. But Tyler, you need to delete everything you sent me. Every screenshot, every document, every piece of so-called evidence. And you need to promise me you won't contact my work or the authorities. Or what? The silence stretches too long. When he speaks again, his voice is ice-cold calm, which somehow scares me more than the yelling did. Or I disappear tonight, and I take Sandra with me. And when those loan sharks show up looking for their money, all they'll find is an empty house and a son who destroyed his father's last chance at redemption. My hands start shaking. You're bluffing. Am I? Tyler, I've got nothing left to lose. My job's under investigation, my wife was planning to leave me, my own son has turned against me, and I owe dangerous people more money than I can ever repay. What exactly do you think is stopping me from just burning it all down? The line goes dead, and I'm left staring at my phone, realizing I may have just pushed a desperate man past his breaking point. Jake looks at my face and immediately starts putting on his shoes. Okay, we're definitely calling the police now. But before I can respond, my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Your father has 48 hours to pay what he owes, or we start collecting from his family members. This includes you, Tyler Patterson, 847, University Drive, dorm room 312. We know where everyone lives. The text from the loan sharks changes everything. They know where I live. They know my full name, my dorm room number. While I've been playing chess with my father, dangerous people have been watching all of us. I screenshot the message and immediately call campus security, then the police. But as I'm giving my statement to Officer Martinez, a sinking realization hits me. If these people are threatening me directly, they're not just going to wait for my dad to pay up or disappear. They want their money now, and they're going to squeeze everyone connected to him. We'll increase patrols around your dorm, Officer Martinez says, but Mr. Patterson, you need to understand, if these are professional debt collectors operating outside legal boundaries, campus security has limited jurisdiction. You might want to consider staying somewhere else tonight. After the police leave, Jake and I sit in heavy silence. My phone hasn't rung since my dad's threat about taking Sandra with him. Either he's making good on his plan to run, or something worse has happened. I have to go check on them, I finally say. Tyler, that's exactly what you can't do. If your dad's lost it and those loan sharks are escalating, you showing up makes you a target. But my phone buzzes with an incoming call from Sandra's number. I answer immediately. Sandra? Are you okay? This isn't Sandra. The voice is male, calm, unfamiliar. This is a friend of your father's. We need to have a conversation. My blood turns to ice. Who is this? Someone your father owes a significant debt to. He's told us about his family situation. About his son who's been interfering with his ability to pay what he owes. I haven't interfered with anything. I just found out he stole my college money. Yes, we're aware of the college fund. We're also aware that you've been gathering evidence about your father's financial activities. Evidence that could complicate his employment situation and make it even more difficult for him to resolve his obligations. The man's voice is conversational, almost polite, but there's an undertone that makes my skin crawl. Here's what's going to happen, he continues. You're going to delete every piece of information you've collected about your father. You're going to cease all contact with authorities, his employer, or anyone else who might interfere with his income. And you're going to give him time to resolve this situation privately. And if I don't, then this becomes a much more complicated problem for everyone involved. Including the young woman here who keeps asking about calling her parents. Sandra. They have Sandra. Let me talk to her. There's a brief pause, then Sandra's voice comes through, shaky but trying to sound strong. Tyler, don't do what they want. These people aren't going to let your father just pay them back and walk away. They. The phone gets muffled, and I hear Sandra yelp in the background. When the man comes back on the line, his tone is sharper. Your stepmother is very brave, but not very wise. You have until midnight tomorrow to demonstrate that this family takes its obligations seriously. Delete the evidence. Stop the investigation. And convince your father to liquidate whatever assets he has left. He doesn't have any assets left. He spent everything. Then you'd better help him find some. Because Tyler, your father isn't the only one with access to valuable resources. College students take out loans all the time. They have credit cards, family connections, emergency funds. The implication hits me like a truck. They want me to go into debt to pay my father's gambling losses. You're insane if you think I'm paying for his mistakes. I think you'll be surprised what you're willing to do when the alternative becomes clear. Midnight tomorrow, Tyler. Don't disappoint us. The line goes dead, and I'm left staring at my phone, realizing that my war with my father has just become something much more dangerous. Chunk 10. I'm pacing my dorm room like a caged animal when my phone rings at 11:47 p.m. It's my dad again, but this time his voice is different, hollow, defeated. Tyler, I need you to listen very carefully. I'm going to tell you something, and you can't interrupt until I'm finished. Dad, are you safe? Is Sandra? Just listen. His voice cracks. 20 years ago, when your mother left, I started playing poker to feel something other than empty. It was just Friday nights with guys from work. $10 buy-ins, nothing serious. But after she died in that car accident 3 years later, it became the only thing that made me forget the guilt. I want to interrupt, to tell him this isn't the time for confessions, but something in his tone stops me. The night your grandmother made me promise to protect your college fund, I had already lost $8,000 that week. I swore I'd stop, and I did, for almost 2 years. But then I met Sandra, and I wanted to be the kind of man who deserved someone like her. Someone successful, generous, exciting. My stomach churns as I realize where this is going. The first withdrawal was just $2,000. I was going to win it back in a weekend and replace it before you ever knew. But Tyler, when you're chasing losses, you never just lose a little more, you lose everything, and then you lose things you didn't even know you had. Dad, where are you calling from? A payphone outside a gas station about 40 miles from town. They let me go an hour ago, but they kept Sandra as insurance. Tyler, these aren't the kind of people who negotiate. They're the kind of people who hurt innocent bystanders to make points. The weight of what he's telling me settles in. What do they want? Everything. My 401k, Sandra's retirement fund, the house, your remaining college money, and anything you can borrow against your future. His voice breaks completely. Son, they want me to destroy both our lives to pay for my mistakes. I close my eyes, feeling the walls closing in from every direction. How much time do we have? They gave me until tomorrow at midnight to bring them $50,000. If I don't, they're going to start collecting from family members, beginning with Sandra, then you, then anyone else they can find. Dad, we need to call the FBI. This is kidnapping, extortion. With what proof? They didn't take Sandra by force, technically, she's a guest at their location. And Tyler, even if we could prove crimes, do you think they'll just release her and disappear while we wait for federal agents to investigate? He's right, and we both know it. These people operate in gray areas specifically designed to avoid law enforcement complications. There's something else, my dad continues. The bank investigation I told you about. It's not routine. Someone reported irregularities in my loan approvals 3 months ago. Internal Affairs has been building a case, and they're planning to interview me Monday morning. Jesus, Dad. Who reported you? I don't know, but Tyler, if I lose my job before tomorrow night, I lose my only remaining source of income. And if these people think I can't pay them back, Sandra becomes leverage for a debt I'll never be able to clear. My phone beeps with an incoming call. Unknown number. Dad, they're calling me. What do I do? Whatever they ask. Tyler, I know I've destroyed your trust, stolen your future, and ruined everything I ever promised your grandmother. But please don't let my failures get Sandra killed. I switch to the incoming call. The same calm, polite voice from earlier. Tyler, I hope you've had time to consider our conversation. Have you made progress on deleting those files? I need more time. Time is the one thing we can't provide. However, we're reasonable people. We're prepared to offer you a modified arrangement. My heart pounds. What kind of arrangement? Your father's debt is currently $47,250. If you can provide $30,000 by tomorrow night, we'll consider the matter resolved and your stepmother will be returned safely. I don't have $30,000. But you have access to it. Student loans, credit advances, family assistance. Young people are remarkably resourceful when properly motivated. The cruel logic is inescapable. They want me to go into massive debt to pay for my father's addiction, ensuring that both our futures are destroyed instead of just his. And if I refuse? Then we'll be forced to explore alternative collection methods. Tyler, your stepmother mentioned she comes from a wealthy family. Perhaps they'd be interested in resolving this matter quickly and quietly. Sandra's parents. They're planning to drag her innocent family into this nightmare, leveraging their love for their daughter against my father's debt. I need until tomorrow afternoon to arrange financing. You have until 8 p.m. And Tyler? Don't make the mistake of thinking law enforcement can solve this faster than we can create problems. We'll be in touch. The line goes dead, and I'm left holding my phone, realizing I have less than 18 hours to choose between my own financial future and Sandra's safety. Jake finds me sitting on the floor, staring at nothing. What's the verdict? I think I'm about to destroy my life to save someone else's. I spend the next 6 hours doing something I never thought I'd do, researching how to financially destroy myself to save someone else. By 6 a.m., I've mapped out exactly how much debt I can take on. My credit score is excellent thanks to 4 years of responsible financial management, ironically, lessons my father taught me. I can get $15,000 in credit card cash advances, another $8,000 from a personal student loan, and if I liquidate the small emergency fund my grandmother left me that my dad somehow missed, that's another $4,000. I'm still $3,000 short of their $30,000 demand. Jake wakes up to find me surrounded by loan applications and credit card offers. Please tell me you're not actually doing this. I'm out of options. If I don't pay them, they'll go after Sandra's family next. Her father has a heart condition, this kind of stress could literally kill him. Tyler, you're talking about taking on debt that will follow you for decades. Student loans you can't discharge in bankruptcy, credit cards with brutal interest rates. My phone interrupts him. It's Carol. Tyler, honey, something's happened. Your father showed up at your cousin Sarah's apartment at 5 a.m. asking to borrow her car. She said he looked terrible, like he hadn't slept in days. When she asked what was wrong, he just broke down crying and said he needed to fix everything before it's too late. My stomach drops. Did she give him the car? Yes, but Tyler, that's not the worst part. After he left, 2 men showed up looking for him. They asked Sarah a lot of questions about family members, where people work, where they live. Sarah was smart enough not to tell them anything, but honey, they knew things about our family they shouldn't know. The loan sharks are already making rounds, gathering information on everyone connected to my father. It's not just about Sandra anymore, they're building a complete picture of every possible source of money or leverage. Carol, you need to warn everyone. Tell the whole family to be careful, don't answer doors for strangers, and definitely don't give anyone financial information. Tyler, what is going on? Sarah said these men were asking about you specifically. They wanted to know where you go to school, what you study, if you have any valuable possessions. After I hang up, the weight of the situation becomes crystal clear. These people aren't just collecting a debt, they're systematically mapping out every angle of pressure they can apply. My family, Sandra's family, my educational future, even my personal safety. Everything is now leverage in their collection strategy. But there's something else bothering me. If my dad borrowed Sarah's car at 5 a.m., where is he now? And why hasn't he called me back? I'm about to call him when my laptop chimes with a new email. The sender address makes my blood freeze, it's from my dad's work account at First National Bank. The subject line reads, Automated Security Alert, Unauthorized After-Hours Access. I click it open with shaking hands. It's an automated message informing my dad that security cameras recorded him entering the bank building at 3:17 a.m. using his employee keycard. The system flagged this as unusual activity since he's not authorized for overnight access without supervisor approval. Oh fuck, I breathe, showing Jake the email. He's at the bank. Jake reads over my shoulder, his face going pale. Tyler, if your dad is desperate enough to break into his own workplace, I don't need him to finish. A man facing federal investigation, loan sharks, and a midnight deadline might do something catastrophically stupid with access to bank systems and client accounts. My phone buzzes with a text from the same unknown number. Your father is making this more complicated than necessary. You now have until 6 p.m. instead of 8 p.m. Use the extra time wisely. They know about the bank too. Somehow, they're monitoring everything my father does, which means they probably know I'm scrambling to raise money, that the family is being warned, that law enforcement hasn't been contacted. I stare at my laptop screen, at the loan applications I've been filling out, at the evidence of my father's crimes that could still bring this whole nightmare into the light. But now there's a ticking clock on multiple fronts, the loan shark's 6 p.m. deadline, whatever my father is doing at the bank right now, and the internal investigation that's supposed to interview him Monday morning. Jake, I say quietly, I think my dad is about to do something that makes all of this irreversible. What do you mean? I think about desperate people making desperate choices, about a man with nothing left to lose and access to other people's money. I think he's going to try to steal enough to pay them back. From the bank. Chunk 12. My worst fears are confirmed 30 minutes later when my phone rings. It's not my dad, it's Detective Williams from the County Police Department. Tyler Patterson. This is regarding your father, Michael Patterson. We need you to come down to the station immediately. My heart stops. Is he okay? He's alive, but he's been arrested. Son, we also need to ask you some questions about potential financial crimes. The drive to the police station feels like it takes forever and no time at all. Jake insists on coming with me, and I'm grateful because my hands are shaking too badly to drive safely. Every scenario runs through my head. Did my dad actually steal from client accounts? Did the loan sharks call in tips to pressure him? Did the bank's investigation finally reach a breaking point? Detective Williams is a tired-looking woman in her 50s who leads me to a small interview room that smells like stale coffee and desperation. Your father was found this morning attempting to access banking systems outside his authorization level, she begins. When security confronted him, he was in the process of transferring funds from a dormant account into what appears to be a personal account. How much? My voice comes out as a whisper. $37,000. The exact amount he needed to pay the loan sharks, plus a little extra. My dad wasn't just stealing, he was trying to save Sandra's life and probably mine too. However, Detective Williams continues, there's something unusual about this case. The account he was accessing belongs to someone named Eleanor Patterson. Any relation? My grandmother. He was stealing from my dead grandmother's forgotten account. She was his mother, I manage. She died 6 years ago. According to bank records, this account has been sitting untouched since her death. Your father claimed he was the rightful beneficiary and was simply transferring inheritance money that should have been processed years ago. I stare at her, trying to process this. Was he right? That's complicated. The account was never properly handled through probate court, which means it's been in legal limbo. Your father might have had a legitimate claim to those funds, but the way he accessed them was definitely illegal. My phone buzzes with a text from the loan sharks. Clock is ticking, Tyler. 4 hours left. Hope your father's legal troubles don't interfere with your family obligations. They know he's been arrested. They know exactly what's happening, which means they're still expecting payment regardless of whether my dad is sitting in a jail cell. Detective Williams, I need to tell you something, but I need to know, is my father safe in custody? She raises an eyebrow. What kind of safe are you talking about? I take a deep breath and tell her everything. About the loan sharks, about Sandra being held as insurance, about the threats against me and my family. Detective Williams' expression grows more serious with each detail. Tyler, why didn't you report this earlier? Because they technically haven't committed any obvious crimes. Sandra wasn't kidnapped, she's a guest. The threats are vague enough to avoid extortion charges. And they made it clear that involving police would make things worse for everyone. Detective Williams is quiet for a long moment, then picks up her phone. I need to make some calls. These people may be more sophisticated than typical loan sharks if they're staying just inside legal boundaries while applying this much pressure. While she steps out, I check my phone again. 3 missed calls from unknown numbers, and a text that makes my stomach drop. Since your father can't complete his obligations from jail, the responsibility falls to immediate family members. We'll be in touch with collection details. When Detective Williams returns, her expression is grim. Tyler, I've spoken with federal agents who are familiar with the organization your father appears to owe money to. These people have a pattern of targeting individuals with gambling addictions, specifically those who work in financial institutions. What does that mean? It means your father was probably targeted deliberately. They look for bank employees with personal financial problems, extend predatory loans, then use the threat of exposure to extract both money and inside information about bank security. The room starts spinning. You're saying this was planned from the beginning? I'm saying your father may have been set up to fail. And Tyler, if these people have been using him to gather intelligence about bank operations, his arrest might accelerate their timeline significantly. My phone rings. Unknown number. Detective Williams nods for me to answer it. Tyler, this is disappointing news about your father, the familiar calm voice says. But business obligations don't pause for legal complications. You now have 2 hours to arrange payment, and the amount has increased to cover the inconvenience. How much? $45,000. And Tyler? Your stepmother sends her regards. She's looking forward to resolving this matter quickly. The line goes dead, and I look at Detective Williams with growing desperation. They want $45,000 in 2 hours, or Sandra pays the price for my father's arrest. We're going to get her back, Detective Williams says firmly. But Tyler, I need you to understand, what happens next might require you to make some very difficult choices about your father's future. Chunk 13. Detective Williams' phone rings before she can explain what those difficult choices might be. She answers with a curt Williams, then her face goes ashen. When? She asks. How many witnesses? My stomach drops as I watch her expression darken. Understood. We're mobilizing now. She hangs up and immediately starts dialing another number. Tyler, we have a serious problem. Sandra's parents just reported that 3 men showed up at their home an hour ago claiming to be federal agents investigating their son-in-law's banking crimes. Oh God. Did they? The men convinced Sandra's father to withdraw $30,000 from his personal account as evidence of the family's cooperation with the investigation. They gave him official-looking paperwork and everything. The room spins. These people aren't just loan sharks, they're running elaborate cons targeting everyone connected to my father. Detective, Sandra's dad has a heart condition. If he finds out he was scammed. There's more. The fake agents told him that his daughter was in federal protective custody and that the family needed to demonstrate financial compliance to ensure her safety. Mr. Chen is now convinced that cooperating with these criminals is helping his daughter. My phone buzzes with another text, payment received from Chen family. Outstanding balance now $15,000. You have 90 minutes to provide the remainder, or we explore alternative collection methods with remaining family members. They're systematically working through everyone connected to us, using official-sounding lies to extract money from people who think they're helping. And now they only need $15,000 more, exactly the amount I calculated I could borrow against my own credit. Tyler, Detective Williams says urgently, I need you to understand something. We can't guarantee Sandra's immediate safety if we move against these people right now. They're too sophisticated, too careful about staying technically legal. But if you pay them, you're funding a criminal enterprise and encouraging them to target other families. So what are you asking me to do? Let Sandra get hurt to protect hypothetical future victims. I'm asking you to consider that paying them might not actually save Sandra. These people have already demonstrated they'll escalate demands and target new family members. What makes you think $15,000 ends this instead of just buying you temporary peace? Before I can answer, my phone rings again. This time it's my Aunt Carol, and she's crying. Tyler, honey, I need to ask you something and I need you to be completely honest with me. What's wrong? 2 men just left my house. They said they were from the bank's internal investigation unit, and they knew details about your father's case that haven't been made public. They said the family could help resolve everything quietly if we could provide a statement of financial support. My heart sinks. Carol, how much did they ask for? $15,000. But Tyler, they knew things about your college fund, about your grandmother's savings, about conversations I've only had with you. How could they know those details unless they were legitimate? Because they've been monitoring everything. Phone calls, emails, probably even our physical movements. These people have been building a comprehensive intelligence picture of our family for weeks or months. Carol, please tell me you didn't give them anything. I told them I needed to discuss it with the family first. But honey, they're coming back tomorrow morning for an answer. They said if the family doesn't demonstrate cooperation, your father's legal troubles will become much more serious. After I hang up, Detective Williams shakes her head grimly. They're accelerating the timeline because your father's arrest spooked them. If they think law enforcement is getting close, they'll extract whatever they can quickly and disappear. Which means Sandra gets abandoned when they cut their losses, yes. Tyler, we need to force their hand before they reach that point. But it's going to require you to put yourself at significant personal risk. My phone buzzes with a new message, and this one makes my blood run cold. Tyler, your cooperation window is closing. Final payment of $15,000 due in 60 minutes, or we begin Phase 2 collection activities. Ask your father about Phase 2, he'll remember the stories. Stories. What stories would my father remember about Phase 2? Detective, I need to talk to my dad. Right now. The look she gives me confirms what I'm already suspecting. Whatever Phase 2 means, it's something that will haunt all of us forever. Chunk 14. The interview room where they're holding my dad looks exactly like the one I was just in, except the man sitting across from me barely resembles my father. His hair is disheveled, his eyes are bloodshot, and when he sees me, he actually flinches. Tyler, he whispers. You shouldn't be here. If they know you're talking to me. Dad, what's Phase 2? The color drains completely from his face. For a moment, I think he might pass out. How do you know that term? Because they just threatened to implement it if I don't pay them $15,000 in the next hour. Dad, what does it mean? He puts his head in his hands and starts shaking. When I first started borrowing from them, they told me about other clients who defaulted. Phase 2 is when they stop trying to collect money and start making examples. My stomach churns. What kind of examples? They don't hurt people directly, that would bring too much law enforcement attention. Instead, they destroy lives systematically. They create scandals, plant evidence of crimes, manipulate situations until their targets lose jobs, families, reputations, everything. But Sandra. Tyler, they're not going to physically harm Sandra. They're going to frame her for something that ruins her life forever. Maybe drug possession, maybe financial fraud, maybe something worse. And they'll do it in a way that looks completely unconnected to their operation. The room starts spinning as the full scope of their plan becomes clear. These people aren't just loan sharks, they're professional life destroyers who perfected the art of revenge that can't be traced back to them. Dad, there's something else. They scammed Sandra's parents out of $30,000, and they're going after Aunt Carol next. How many people are they going to destroy to get to us? All of them, he says quietly. Tyler, these people don't just collect debts, they harvest entire family networks. Once they identify a target, they research everyone connected and systematically extract money from each source. Your college fund was never about paying my gambling debts. It was seed money to fund a larger operation against our whole family. My phone buzzes. Detective Williams texting, Tyler, we need you back out here. Now. Dad, I have to go. But I need to know, is there any way to stop this that doesn't destroy everyone we care about? He looks at me with something I've never seen in his eyes before, complete hopelessness. Son, the only way this ends is if they decide we're more trouble than we're worth. And I don't think we're there yet. When I return to Detective Williams, she's surrounded by federal agents and multiple computers. The energy in the room has completely changed, this is no longer a local police matter. Tyler, we've been monitoring communications since you left, Agent Rodriguez tells me. These people have targeted 17 other families across 3 states using identical methods. Your father's case isn't isolated, it's part of a much larger criminal enterprise. What does that mean for Sandra? It means we can't let you pay them, because the money doesn't go to local criminals, it funds a sophisticated operation that's destroying families nationwide. But Tyler, it also means we can't guarantee Sandra's immediate safety if we move against them now. My phone rings. The number I've learned to dread. Tyler, time's up. We're implementing Phase 2 protocols effective immediately. Your stepmother has been very helpful in providing information about her family's business connections. I think her father's car dealerships are about to face some very serious regulatory investigations. Wait. No more waiting. You had your chance to resolve this quietly. Now everyone gets to learn what happens when people don't honor their obligations. The line goes dead, and I realize with growing horror that my decision to involve law enforcement may have just triggered the systematic destruction of everyone I care about. Agent Rodriguez looks at my expression and nods grimly. Tyler, we're about to ask you to do something extremely dangerous. But it might be the only way to save your family and stop these people from destroying other families too. What do you need me to do? We need you to walk into their trap willingly. And we need you to trust that we can get you out alive. Chunk 15. The plan Agent Rodriguez lays out is terrifyingly simple. I'm going to meet the loan sharks with a briefcase full of fake money, wearing a wire, and hope that federal agents can move fast enough to save me when everything goes sideways. They've agreed to meet you at the old warehouse on Industrial Drive, Rodriguez explains as technicians tape recording equipment to my chest. They think you're bringing the final $15,000 to secure Sandra's release. What they don't know is that we've had surveillance on that location for 3 weeks. My hands won't stop shaking as we drive toward the meeting point. This could go wrong in a dozen different ways, but the alternative, watching these people systematically destroy every person I care about, is worse than the risk. The warehouse looks exactly like every crime scene from every police show I've ever watched. Broken windows, rusted metal, shadows that could hide anything. As I walk toward the entrance with my briefcase full of counterfeit bills, I can almost feel the federal agents positioned around the perimeter. Tyler, the familiar calm voice calls out as I step inside. Right on time. 3 men emerge from the shadows, and Sandra is sitting in a chair about 20 feet away. She looks tired but unharmed, and when she sees me, relief floods her face. Let her go, I say, setting the briefcase down. You got your money from her parents, and here's the rest. The leader, a middle-aged man in an expensive suit who looks more like a banker than a criminal, smiles coldly. Tyler, I'm afraid there's been a change in plans. You see, your father's arrest created some complications that require adjustments to our arrangement. What kind of adjustments? The kind where you become a long-term asset instead of a one-time payment source. You're an accounting student with excellent credit and family connections. We can use someone with your profile. My blood runs cold. They never intended to let this end with one payment. They were always planning to recruit me into whatever network of financial crimes they're running. And if I refuse? He gestures towards Sandra. Then your stepmother's legal troubles become very, very serious. Amazing how easy it is to plant evidence when you have the right connections. That's when I hear the most beautiful sound in the world, the distant wail of sirens getting closer. The man's expression shifts from confident to confused to angry in the span of seconds. You brought police, he says, but it's not a question. I brought the FBI, I correct him. Turns out defrauding families across multiple states makes this a federal crime. The next few minutes are chaos. Federal agents pour through every entrance, shouting commands and drawing weapons. The loan sharks try to scatter, but Agent Rodriguez wasn't kidding about having the location surrounded. Within 5 minutes, all 3 men are on the ground in handcuffs. Sandra runs to me, tears streaming down her face. Tyler, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry about everything, your father, the money, all of it. It's not your fault, I tell her, and for the first time in days, I actually believe things might work out. 6 months later, I'm walking across the graduation stage to receive my accounting degree. It turns out that my grandmother's forgotten bank account really was legitimate inheritance, enough to cover my final semester tuition and even leave me a small emergency fund. My father pled guilty to attempted embezzlement and received 2 years probation plus mandatory gambling addiction treatment. The federal investigation into the loan shark operation led to 17 arrests across 3 states and recovered over $400,000 stolen from various families. Sandra and I both testified at the trial. Her parents' money was returned, and surprisingly, the whole experience brought her family closer together. She divorced my dad but sent me a graduation card that simply said, "Thank you for being braver than I was." My dad and I are slowly rebuilding our relationship through family therapy, but it's complicated work. Trust, once broken this completely, doesn't just magically repair itself. But here's what I learned: sometimes protecting the people you love means being willing to risk everything, including your relationship with the person causing the harm. Sometimes being a good son means stopping your father from destroying himself and everyone around him. And sometimes the only way to end a nightmare is to walk directly into it with backup you trust. The job I start next month includes a signing bonus that I'm putting into a new college fund, this one for kids whose families can't afford education. My grandmother would approve. Some bridges are worth burning if it means building something better from the ashes.